For our final episode, we're going to look back in 10 parts on the most important lessons we've learned so far about recording a band and mixing a track afterwards. Gear. If you choose to record a band playing together, make sure you're prepared with the right equipment. The essentials are microphones, dynamic mics for the guitar and bass amps, and condenser mics for vocals and ambient room recording. Drum miking will require a mixture of both. You'll also need mic stands for close and ambient placement of these mics, and XLR cables for all the mics with spares in case you have any problems. You'll also need an audio interface capable of taking multiple simultaneous inputs so you can record the signals from speakers and drum mics. Take a laptop with a spec capable of efficiently running digital audio workstation software, and finally be prepared. Bring spares of all your cables, especially guitar and effects pedal patch leads. Also bring spare strings for your guitars. Setting up the band. When you're setting up as a band in your chosen location, try to minimise the risk of microphone spill by placing the musicians out from each other in a horseshoe or semicircle shape. Mic spill is when the mic used to pick up the sound of one instrument picks up the sound of another instrument, and it makes it harder to achieve the audio separation needed for success at the mixing stage of your song. Drum miking. When setting up the drum mics, take the time to get the best possible sound by making sure there's good communication between the drummer and the engineer. Start with the positions we talked about in episode 3, but don't be afraid to adjust the mics to tweak the sound as appropriate. It's especially important to monitor and adjust the sounds if you experience the problem of phasing with the overhead mics. This is where the sound from the drums is being picked up by the mics at different times because they're not equal distances from the drums. Miking a guitar amp. You can get great results from one dynamic mic positioned on your amp speaker, but make sure you take the time to experiment with it. Start by facing the mic directly at the centre of the speaker cone with it almost touching the grill cloth. Experiment with how it affects the tone as you move it from the centre of the speaker's cone to the edge of it. Dead centre will make for a more direct, punchier tone, but positioning it to the edge of the cone will produce a darker tonality. Recording an acoustic guitar in a live band scenario. Even if you're recording a band playing live, acoustic guitar can still be captured even without the traditional method of using a condenser mic with all the potential mic bleed that would involve. You can use an acoustic combo amp DI'd to be able to monitor and record a clear signal in the band mix. Acoustic players should also consider the source of that amplified tone, whether it's a sound hole or piezo pickup. Using onboard rack-based or pedal preamps can give you more control of your sound to give it a more acoustic natured tone and also stand out in a band mix. Tracking the band. It's a good idea to have an extra person who assumes the role of an engineer for your recording session. They can operate the recording software, stop and start recordings, monitor levels, and give a second opinion on mic placements. And when the band is playing live together, remember to allow for the vocals you may choose to record in a separate session later. This means being sensitive to the dynamics in your song and making sure it's well rehearsed. Vocals. Recording vocals in a separate session after the band has tracked together enables you to focus on getting great results without worrying about mic spill. For this reason, it's really important that you get the headphone mix right for the vocalist. This is the monitor mix that enables them to hear themselves in relation to the music they're singing over. Adding effects like reverb for the headphone mix can go a long way to making the singer feel confident and comfortable during their session. Remember, the voice is a fragile instrument and needs time to warm up and for the singer to get comfortable with the song. Don't expect to get everything done in a couple of takes, but also don't take too long or vocal fatigue might set in. Overdubs. You can save guitar parts like solos for the overdub stage rather than the live session, or enhance your song with some subtle extra rhythm parts to make things like choruses stand out more. We use Cubase 8's VST amp rack for amp, cab, mic and effect modelling within the software, but you could also use a plugin for other instruments like synth sounds too. There's plenty of tools at your disposal to enrich your existing band recording and add layers if you want to. Mixing. Mixing may seem like a complicated art to newcomers, but it's really about following a step-by-step process. Take the time to review the different takes you have and select the best to continue to work with. Then start with the rhythm section first as your song's foundation. Onboard effects such as compression and reverb are extremely valuable tools at the mixing stage, and using them wisely will make a huge difference to the final result. As you're making changes, remember not to just listen to parts in isolation. You need to keep coming back to the big picture of the overall song and how each instrument and part sounds together. And finally, if the idea of taking on a recording project is daunting, just keep in mind that breaking it all down, working with your band and engineer as a team like we have, can really help it to be a manageable and rewarding experience. Our series has been a guide to get you started, but don't be afraid to experiment to get a sound you're happy with, as many great musicians and producers have in the past, and most of all, have fun with it.